Hi everyone. Whoa. Hi everyone. Great to be here. My name's Andrew Tate. I'm Head of Technology Operations at Rightmove. And for the last 15 years or so, I've been helping organizations build and run mission-critical platforms. So Rightmove, as I'm sure you're aware, is the UK's #1 property website. 34 million searches per day, 10,000 properties a day uploaded, and collectively in the UK, we spend 1.3 billion minutes of time on that website every month. Everything we do is delivered through a mobile app, a web page, or an API. We have about 180 Java and Node microservices, some of our original monolith, and a little bit of legacy, as everyone does, and also a bunch of other supporting applications and services. Despite being a stalwart of the UK property scene, the services and products that we provide to our customers and consumers are constantly changing as we try and evolve for better experiences for them. And also the underlying tech stack has never sat still. You can often tell that something big is happening in the UK by the traffic levels on Rightmove. So for example, the lowest level of traffic we've ever seen on the website was when Andy Murray won Wimbledon. And we could see that it took the UK around about an hour to get back to searching for properties after it was announced that the Queen had died. However, Rightmove is so much more than just a property portal. We've collected data from across the property industry for over 20 years. We've never deleted a property image, much to my dismay. And we provide a huge range of services to estate agents, as you probably expect, but also surveyors, new homes developers, mortgage lenders, other financial institutions, and many government organizations as well. We recently acquired HomeViews, who are there to bolster our product proposition for build-to-rent developers. And we invested in a company called CockroachDB, a digital property transaction network, who are there to streamline the buying process. One thing you might not know is that almost every single mortgage in the UK for a home purchase goes through Rightmove Surveyor's comparable tool. And that tool is built on our sort of 20-odd years worth of property data. So a real backbone of the property industry and the financial industry as well when it comes to mortgages. Also, by the end of the year, you will be able to manage your rental property move end-to-end on the Rightmove platform. So that includes searching and finding a property, booking the viewing, includes referencing, it will include digital contract signature, deposit holding, as well as finding home services like broadband and contents insurance. We're also FCA authorized, and you can now get a mortgage in principle on the Rightmove website and store that in your My Rightmove account. And all of this is in aid of us trying to make the home moving process faster and more simple. So whilst having 20 years worth of property data and property images is an amazing asset, any 20-year-old technology company has its challenges. One of our big ones is our 3-site architecture. Historically, we've run out of 3 geographically separated active data centers. We distribute traffic across all 3 data centers, but we can run out of any 2 at any time. And we tested that resilience every month by taking a data center offline. So whilst this has given us huge amounts of operational resilience, it's introduced a huge amount of complexity and overheads as well. As you can imagine, having reads and writes happening at multiple locations at the same time adds a lot of complexity to your database architecture and also your replication. To get around this, we built bespoke services like Application Master and Data Center Coordinator. And this gave us the ability to read from any data center, but write to one primary and replicate to 2 others. It's confusing to say, let alone build and run. And whilst that mostly solved the out-of-sync property issues, it added a huge amount of complexity for development teams because they have to think about which table needs to be replicated to which location, which flags to use, which URL structures to use, and worst of all, they had to search Confluence to try and find the documentation. It also added a massive amount of overheads to our database engineering team who have to manage multiple clusters across the sites, and they also have to deal with the out-of-sync property issues, manage the replication in lots of different directions to lots of different services. Also, if a database crashed or we have to do an upgrade on a database, we still kind of get out of sync properties, which still take a non-trivial amount of time for not only the database engineering team, but the dev teams as well as our CX team. Another challenge that we had was our 2-weekly release cycle for database changes. So we've built a high-velocity CI/CD platform for our applications, and dev teams can and do deploy changes on a daily basis to the application estate. However, for database changes, we were still tied to the 2-weekly release cycle, which really inhibits teams' kind of velocity and also their autonomy to make changes. And if they miss that cycle for whatever reason, or they get a table wrong or something, an incorrect column, then you've got to start again. So that was a major issue. The other one was that alongside this, as we adopted cloud, we wanted to maintain a level of portability in the data, as well as provide regional resilience, and we wanted to do that without all the aforementioned overheads. Our cloud strategy was driven by 3 pillars, which is reduce the overheads of the 3-site architecture, future-proof the capabilities of our platform, and increase innovation and business agility. At the core of that is having some highly available, performant, resilient databases, and that's Cockroach's bread and butter. That's kind of what they do best. We wanted a simple way to provide the geographical resilience and maintain a level of portability, and Cockroach Managed Services enables us to do that. We didn't want our product teams to wait 11 days for a database change to go out, or not be able to release ticket X because the change didn't go out. And with Cockroach, we get continuous integration and continuous delivery for our database changes. We also wanted a big reduction in cognitive load for our development teams and reduction in overheads of running and managing all these clusters for our database engineering team. And with having a single endpoint for our applications to call and them handling all of the replication and complexity, we get that from CockroachDB. One thing that we didn't know that we wanted, but we're very glad we got, is the ability to hold structured and semi-structured data in CockroachDB at the same time. So this has been especially important for our greenfield customers, our greenfield teams building new products. So one example of that is we have a new commercial team spinning up to build a brand new commercial proposition for commercial real estate. That's what I'm talking about. And they've been able to innovate and iterate really quickly over a brand new data model, not having to wait for that release cycle, being able to query across those sets of data and change that data model and the database accordingly as they've needed to. If you get on the Rightmove website and you look at commercial property for sale, you will see there's a new landing page, which is kind of the start of a new set of hyper-focused journeys for commercial real estate customers with a brand new data model, and that's all running on CockroachDB. What is next? A little bit about our architecture. So on the left, you'll see our on-premise data centers. In the middle, our Rightmove kind of Google Cloud environment, and then the CockroachDB environment on the right. One of the advantages of having CockroachDB run on GCP is we could use VPC peering to privately and directly connect our environment to CockroachDB. And that made onboarding really easy. It also meant we've got a highly secure, kind of latency protected implementation. So just touching on our migration process, over the last few years, as we've been building new microservices and we've been chipping away at our monolith, we've created individual schemas on the on-premise databases that have a bounded context with the microservice that they serve. This has enabled us to migrate applications schema by schema and service by service instead of doing a big bang migration from Oracle to Cockroach all in one go. It's really helped the sort of minimize the blast radius of these migrations. At a high level, the process goes, we first move the application from Docker Swarm on-premise to Google's Kubernetes engine running in cloud. We switch the traffic over. So the application's running in cloud and still reading and writing from the endpoint on-premise. We then stream the data in real time from the on-premise data centers to CockroachDB, do all of our performance testing, regression, QA, make sure that we're ready to go. And then we redeploy the application in cloud with the new CockroachDB endpoint, the pods get updated and we start reading and writing from our new database. So some of our learnings and experience, the Cockroach team has been amazing. Not only are they really talented, passionate engineers, they're great people to work with, and the Cockroach team in general have been really invested in our success and us achieving our goals. I wouldn't be standing here on stage talking to you all if that wasn't the case. You know, they're really invested in helping Rightmove achieve the outcomes that we're looking for with our platform modernization piece. Depending on what RDBMS you come from, you have to be conscious of certain actions that you perform. For example, when you're creating an index, previously you might just create the index and away you go, whereas with CockroachDB you need to be a little bit more explicit about the columns that you might store in that index and how you want that to work. So what is next for us? We are migrating our remaining microservices, so we're scaling up and ramping up the migration of the remaining microservices. We're refactoring a bunch of our sort of legacy architecture and code. We're also looking at re-architecting some of our data models to align them to the updated core business entities. And also, what presentation these days wouldn't be complete without a mention of AI. So, as I mentioned before, we've got 300 terabytes of property images. And as you can see from the slide, we had over 100 opportunities that we've defined in terms of how we can push AI further into our products, both on the consumer side and on the product side. And one that we're really excited about is a dynamic search filter. So what the plan is to take all the glorious unstructured data that's in our property images, categorize that, embed labels in that, and put that in a model so that you can essentially filter properties and search for properties based what's present in the property photo rather than what the agent uploads in the description. It opens up a whole new way to search for properties, you know, things like high ceilings or kitchen island or, you know, I don't know, other stuff that appears in property images. There's many of them, but I just can't think of them at the moment. And we're really excited about how that is going to sort of change the way that we search for properties going forward. And that is a very quick run through of Rightmove and where we are. So thanks very much for listening.